Welcome to Improving Your Lifestyle with Dr. Olia, where every lady is royalty and deserves to reign. Let's talk about it. It's time for the Dr. Olia Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dr. Olia Show. It is so exciting to have Olia joining us today here in the studio and also all around the world. Our purpose for the show is to enlighten and give voice to a taboo subject that's faced women all over the world. And today's conversation is about feminine hygiene care. Women, ladies, you don't have to suffer anymore in silence. Your feminine flow has finally found its match. Let's talk about it. Here to join me today with our conversation is from Austin, Texas. I like to say all the way from Austin, Texas. It's one of my spiritual daughters, Dexy. Please welcome her, everybody. Welcome to the show.
So much. It's wonderful to see you.
Awesome. So Dexy, all the way from Austin, Texas. And also I'd like to share with you, Dexy also worked with the Dr. Olia Show as well. But now she's on the platform joining me for a powerful subject that I think plague women from all over the world. Dexy, we have talked about women feminine hygiene care, and you have had your bouts, your journey also with feminine care as well.
Yes.
So have I. You know, when I was very, very young, they used to tell me about my menstrual. You know, you're gonna be menstruating. You're gonna have a period, they would say, right? But they told me you're going to suffer, you're going to have pains, you're going to have cramps, you're not going to be able to go to school. Has anybody identified with that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I know I did.
Yeah.
I was so afraid.
You were so
I was
afraid.
very, very afraid.
Yeah.
I had a very, just the expectation. I was just very afraid of what's going to happen to me. What is this going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that we need more education as young girls? You know, whatever the age range is, some is 8, 10. I think the average young woman that I've heard, they talk about maybe age 11, 13, or 14 along there.
Yeah, I really feel like it's a conversation that really needs to be had. And I think we should talk about it more in the homes. We should definitely talk about it more in the schools so that girls don't feel so ashamed and just so apprehensive about it and just have the anxiety, like I was saying I did when I was younger, and they started telling us about it, and they would separate the girls and the boys like it was this huge taboo.
But it's the most natural thing in life, right? Is God created the process for ministration, and it is something to celebrate because of the Lord, I would say. Wouldn't you?
I would definitely agree. There would be no people on the planet if it wasn't for period.
Yeah. Period. No life, period.
So it should definitely be celebrated.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Especially for those that have beautiful babies. Yes. So we're going to be segueing to another beautiful daughter from Nairobi, Kenya. We're excited about that. We had sat down and had a conversation with her and interviewing her about her journey, a feminine journey, and the young girls that she worked with in orphanages in Nairobi, Kenya. We're going to segue to that interview with Pastor Mercy Promise, and she's going to share her journey. Let's take a listen. We're so excited to be able to sit down with one of my spiritual daughters all the way from Nairobi, Kenya. Her name is Mercy Promise. So we're sitting down having a conversation about a very important subject, and that is ministerial hygiene awareness. And we're going to talk about this subject that affects women and young girls all around the world. Mercy, I'm so excited to have you join me on the show today on Dr. Olia Show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I would like for you to share as a CEO of the St. Anne's Rehabilitation. You deal with a lot of people with the feminine issues like menstrual period.
So Dandora is a slum to start with, and this is where we have the biggest dump sites in Africa. So most of the girls that we have at the NGO, most of them, they come from the neighboring surrounding and the community and all the streets that surround us, or all the villages that surround us. They are slum. So the poverty level at that place is very high. So one of the challenges that I have had personally over the years of taking care of these girls has been, it's like kind of poverty, period poverty. Yeah, let me explain about it. It's because, you see, we have like three to 4 days or 1 week to the extreme, whereby girls experience their menstrual flow. So once we are in this season, remember we have about 70 girls about there, because during the COVID-19 we had to reduce the number of girls so that we could be able to take care of them. So we have about 70 girls, and the moment they are going through their menstrual cycle, like 40 of them, the moment they're going through their menstrual cycle, some of the things that I have experienced, Dr. Olia, number one is sometimes the girls feel ashamed of talking about what they are going through. Sometimes they feel that the boys will laugh at them, and sometimes they are unable to speak to us because sometimes we have the challenge of providing for them the sanitary towels. So one of the challenges that I've seen is some of these girls will go and tear off the mattress. You understand, the mattress where they sleep. So sometimes
to find something to protect them during this time of the year.
Find something to protect them, especially when the flow is heavy. Even when it is not heavy, it is something that I have noticed has gone on for a long time. Sometimes they will feel ashamed of coming to tell me, or sometimes they feel ashamed of telling the male teachers who are around, or the man who stays there. There's a man who stays with them there together with his wife. They just take care of them, the matron together with the manager. They take care of them. So sometimes they feel the shame of going to talk to them, not because we have not trained them at the school level, but because of how they have grown up. Ever since they were young, they have a certain mentality that they are not supposed to talk about period. They feel ashamed. Yes, menstrual period.
You find that it's a case, perhaps not only with young girls, but sometimes older women or just women as well. Is it considered more of a taboo subject that we don't talk about women menstrual period?
Yeah. It's more of a taboo because we can talk about them in the classroom. So when we are in the classroom, like I teach science, so when we are in the classroom, they are a little bit free. But even not that free, they will wait when the boys are out, then they can ask some questions. So this is something that is cultural, because even the women out there, they really don't want to talk about the subject. And I think right now the world is really advancing. But you might think that the world has completely changed, but in reality, there are people who are still stigmatized when we come to talk about periods.
Thank you for joining me on the Dr. Olia Show. Until next time, we'll have a conversation again, but let us talk about it and keep the conversation going. Thank you, Pastor Mercy Promise from Nairobi, Kenya.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I hope to come back soon.
That was Dr. Mercy. Some people call her Dr. Pastor Mercy Promise from Nairobi, Kenya. You know, as we interviewed her, she talked about her journey as a young girl, that she had not been taught properly about feminine care of the menstrual period. And she had embarrassing moments. Those of you that just watched the interview, you'll see that at a young age, I think age 13 or 14, she had some very embarrassing moments. where she said her mom did not share with her what was going to happen to her body, and she was terrified and was ridiculed as well. So, do you feel that we need more education, more?
Absolutely. She
Yeah.
was sharing what sat with me was when she was talking about how the girls really weren't taught.
Yes.
They don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And she talked about the period poverty there.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how the little boys had no idea.
Have no
So they
idea.
teased the little
Exactly.
girls. And so I just feel like it's so important. And that's why this conversation that you're having here is so important.
important.
Yes. Thank you for,
Yeah.
for bringing this conversation here.
All right, thank you so much. We are so excited that Mercy shared her journey with us, as many of us can identify with that. So we're going to now move into hearing from Dr. Olia's Global News from all around the world. And reporting is Kaya Huff.
Thank you, Dr. Olia. Ladies and queens from around the world, even the Duchess from Success is talking about it. Our news for today focused on feminine hygiene care. Ladies, no more suffering in silence. Let's talk. Meghan Markle sheds light on menstrual hygiene. She took on the cause while she was an actress on Suits, traveling to India, and penning an article on period shaming last year that was published on International Women's Day. Beyond India and communities all over the globe, young women's potential is being squandered because we are too shy to talk about the most natural thing in the world, Markle wrote. We need to push the conversation, mobilize policy making surrounding menstrual health initiatives, support organizations who foster girls' education from the ground up and within our own homes. She continued, we need to rise above our puritanical bashfulness when it comes to talking about menstruation. What every woman and young girl should know about feminine hygiene. According to the Centers for Disease Controlled Prevention, from 2006 to 2010, 11.7% of women between the ages of 40 and 44 had a hysterectomy. Over 600,000 hysterectomies are performed annually in the United States, and 20 million American women have had a hysterectomy. By the age of 60, more than 1/3 of all women have had a hysterectomy. According to the Los Angeles Times News, National Women's Health Network Executive Director Cindy Pearson says, I advise any woman who is not in a life-threatening situation to seek someone else besides a surgeon to explore non-surgical options first. The NWHN believes that unnecessary hysterectomies have put women at risk needlessly and that healthcare providers should recognize the value of a woman's reproductive organs beyond their reproductive capacity and search for other healthcare alternatives before resorting to life-changing operations. Back to you, Dr. Olia.
Thank you, Kaya. Reporting our global news from all around the world, dealing with feminine hygiene. You know what? As I was listening to the report about feminine hygiene care, even the Duchess
Of Sussex.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she does a annual promoting women's feminine health care. And do you remember some of the things that she was sharing with us when she went to India and sharing with the women there that had issues and not having the proper products to use for their feminine periods? What would you say about what Kaya reported?
So even like you were saying, they're talking about it all around the world.
Yeah.
Even the Duchess of Sussex makes it a point to voice her concerns about the period poverty and how the young girls don't have access and how important it is for them to have access because it affects their day-to-day life. They can't play the sports, they can't just function normally if they do not have the kind of products that they need.
So then menstrual period is considered a taboo subject in many, not only in other countries, but also here in the U.S. as well.
Yes, it is.
And where that's not a subject that people like to talk about it, but it's the most natural thing. And women do suffer in silence many times because lack of education. Who do you talk to about your ministry period? It's not the most popular conversation in the world.
Right. They've been made to feel embarrassed.
Yeah, so it's a reoccurring menstrual cycle that happens monthly, if some every day, and women suffer in silence. And many times they, myself, and I'm sure as we talk to other women, we've talked about how women have heavy flows, light flows, or finding the right products that would protect them. And what about those embarrassing moments that, you know, you're afraid you have soiled your clothing, and sometimes people laugh at you and make fun of you, right? And so women sometimes go through a terrifying time when their menstrual cycle is on. So we want to dispel the taboo subject of menstrual hygienes. Let's just call it menstrual period. And someone said, and women can identify this, I'm having my what?
Period.
Yeah, I'm having my period, and I'm moody. What about when you're really moody? You know, when you feel like, you know, people call it what, PMS?
Right.
Yeah.
The premenstrual syndrome that they, PMS.
Say it again. What is it?
Premenstrual syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the things that happen to you before your cycle starts.
Yeah.
All the moodiness. Sometimes people have the cravings and all of
Backaches
that.
and those kinds of things. So we are talking about that because we know women all over the world can identify what we're talking about.
That's right.
But we don't want to just talk about the problem. There is and there are many solutions
That's right.
to help women today, especially today. And we're talking natural things. We know there are medical doctors and nurses and that help women, but we are talking about natural things as well as the medical field. So, Dexter, what would you say, you know, just listening to the report, that it should be voiced loud and women should be more educated? I believe that mothers and whoever the caretakers are should take the time to educate their children,
Absolutely.
not frighten them. Just tell them what to expect, and when these times happen in their lives, teach them how to protect themselves properly and let them know it is the most natural thing in the world. You do not have to be ashamed of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And giving them the right products.
Giving the right
Starting them off
products.
with the right products.
Yeah.
'Cause-
So would you say that maybe we know that this industry, feminine hygiene industry, is a multi-billion-dollar industry?
yes, it is.
Yeah. Not only with the sanitary napkins that we use, but also the products when women had their mood swings, or headaches, or backaches, or those type of things. Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of education that needs to be given because not only taking away the stigma, removing the taboo, but also educating the women and the young girls
Yeah.
about the products because all pads are not created equally.
And some has said they are toxic products.
Yes, they do. The
Basically.
toxic shock syndrome that can come from the tampon. So again, it's education. And you think about a lot of times we experience these problems as women and we think, oh, this is how it's supposed to be
Yeah.
because we've started our cycle and we've put on these products that have leaked these toxins into our bodies for years.
And coming to us now, as I sit down with the young lady from Dallas, Texas, Shantae Hollins, a powerful interview. Let's take a look. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited. Another beautiful day that I get to talk to a beautiful young lady out of Dallas, Texas. We're going to be talking about what many people call a taboo subject, and that is about menstrual hygiene awareness. I want to ask you just a few questions. I would like for you to share some of the major challenges that you have faced, the journey that you have gone through.
I first started noticing in my teenage years when I first experiencing my menstrual cycle, that I was having severe cramping. And I didn't really understand why they were so bad. Sometimes I would go to school and have to leave school and go right back home to crawl up in a bed, crawl back in bed with my heating pad. My mother would give me some hot tea, give me some pain reliever, and I would just rest. What prompted me to go to the doctors and see, hey, what is going on with my body? Like, why am I experiencing so much pain? To the extent of sometimes me just balling up on the floor. Sometimes it was very overwhelming. So the my cycle would get so bad. Like I said, there was a heavy flow. There was constant pressure on my abdomen. There was heavy cramping that sometimes medication wouldn't help. The medication would put me to sleep. I would wake up, and then the same severe cramping would happen. So made a appointment with my doctor. Saw my doctor. Literally, she said I needed to get a sonogram done. Got the sonogram done, and lo and behold, we find that there are multiple fibroid tumors on my abdomen, my reproductive organs.
Women need to know that they can share their stories, that they don't have to suffer or keep suffering in silence, because knowledge is power. And like yourself, when you're sharing your story, then someone is hearing that, okay, natural, your nutrition matter. Talk about that a little bit. And the sanitary napkins, that a lot of women do not know. Some of the over-the-counter products are very toxic. It's actually adding to your problem.
Yes.
You don't know that there are other alternatives. Talk about that. Speak to that, if you would, please.
Okay, so in regards to, I will just go there first. The nutrition.
Yes.
My doctor told me that I need to change my diet. She said, you need to eat more leafy green vegetables. You need to eat more fruits. You need to stay away from fast food. You need to stay away from greasy food. You need to make sure you're taking your vitamins. Make sure that you are drinking plenty of water, staying hydrated, staying away from sodas and sugary snacks and things like that, because that actually it feeds it. For me, it fed the fibroids, and it caused them to grow without me knowing. Do I know do I know how fast they were growing? No, but I do know that that is very important to watch what you're eating, watch your diet. In regards to the sanitary napkins, some of the over-the-counter sanitary napkins or pads, they are toxic. They are carcinogenic, which means they cause cancer. They can cause cancer. When I finally learned about the other alternative for a sanitary napkin, when I first used them, my mind was absolutely blown, because I could feel the difference in my energy level, even in my energy level. And my flow was not, it wasn't like heavy. It literally slowed the flow down. So I was just overly impressed. And
this was the product that I recommended. And
absolutely.
I'm not even sure how you and I got into this particular conversation about minister hygiene. We sort of went it. I know it had to be the Lord. And when I shared it with you, and then you began to share your story with me, I was just blown away when I heard it. But I recommended this particular product.
Yes.
And what Shantae is talking about right now, she's telling you her experience, as many other women have been sharing their stories as well. So there is hope, and there is
hope.
Mm-hmm. But let's talk about it. We have to keep talking about it with individuals like yourself that's willing to kind of put yourself out there. But you're not alone, because other women identifying with everything that you were saying. Thank you so much once again for joining us and for your willingness to be open and honest. And many women are going to be blessed because of your boldness and sharing about menstrual hygiene. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're most welcome. Thank you again for having me.
Until next time, keep talking. Okay, we're so excited with all of our individuals that we interview, but we also have a question from one of our audience. Her name, Yakima, is your name? What's your question?
Yes, thank you so much for taking my question, and thank you so much for having this forum, this very powerful topic.
Yes.
My question is, do you think there is enough awareness and education around girls' and women's health and hygiene?
Well, I think, that's one of the problems that we face, although they do teach, I think, sex education or health education in the school system. But I believe that it should begin at home at a very, very young age, even when they're of the right age, because even the young ones, you can begin to prepare them. It's not a one-day conversation. It is ongoing, explaining to your young girls as they mature, but also the boys in the home as well. Go ahead.
Just to follow up on that, so how do we create these safe spaces for each other to have the conversation? You all talked about
Yes.
how this is such a taboo, and so I was just curious as to if you had any ideas on that.
I think what we are doing now in the
Yes.
Dr. Olia show is to create more of an awareness, dispelling the taboo about the menstrual hygiene. It's a natural thing. And that if we're more comfortable as even adults and teenagers to talk openly and correctly about it with respect, and it's not a taboo subject anymore, because when you know it was created by God, and whatever God made is good. We'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us today on the Dr. Olia Show. We're so excited to have you, Dixie,
Thank
all
you.
of our audience, in the studio audience, as well as all around the world. Until next time, continue to focus on what is good for your feminine hygiene care. Let's talk about it.